and yeah, tape same day as the other one, so what, I'm gonna post them either way. And today we are talking about the ever controversial, ever rising,
excuse me,
ever rising topic about sex offenders. There's a lot of news, and lately there has been news lately, especially with the JC thing going on, and what happened with her. Also, you know, in our area, it's kind of rampant.
Yeah, terribly so.
And yeah, so that's kind of why, you know, hopefully my daughter gets a little bit older, we are leaving.
Yeah.
But
I second that motion.
but yeah, sex offenders, there's a fine line with that. I mean, I'm a little bit, I don't know how you are, but me, I'm sympathetic depending on the situation. And then there's other situations where, you know, I'd be the first one to burn a person's house down or kill them, you know.
Yeah, I hear that.
Not literally kill them, but, you know, kick the crap out of them.
Yeah, you know, you get the point. Yeah, there's I agree with you in a lot of respect, in a lot of areas, where there is that fine line, like with statutory rape. There could be someone, and I think this is something that we'll get into later down the line or down the show, but there are some instances where people aren't using their head when entering into situations, and there's some things that it's beyond the victim's control as far as like a child. So yeah, I have a lot of different viewpoints. I think maybe now would be a great time to actually get into the differences, so that way we can kind of speak our minds about these different things, the different levels of sex offenders.
Because each state has 3 levels. There's the sexual predator, which they use most often. There's the habitual, and then there's the sexually oriented. Now, regardless of who you are, what you are, they always classify you as a predator, even though you're technically not supposed to be labeled like that. Sexually oriented means, you know, you did a crime where it was sexually based and something happened to that reflect, and you know, you're hit with it, almost like an accessory in a sense. Habitual, you've done it once with, like, say, your girlfriend at the age of, you know, you was 18, she was 16, something like that, and then you turn around and did it again, and now it's starting to get, it's not reached that level where it's forced. And then, you know, you got the sexual predators where, you know, any and anything you can imagine happened, they did it.
That's terrible. Yeah, the first one that I kind of wanted to get into, or that there's a really gray area, is the statutory rape. Because, like, used an example earlier of, like, 2 teenage kids dating. One was, I'll say, 13, and the other one was 15. And as they get older, the oldest one is 18 and the other person's still a minor. So therefore, if the parent has a problem, or say the girlfriend breaks up with them and wants to, you know, just like get revenge for whatever heartbreak that she experienced, bam, that kid's, you know, getting some time in, or, you know, and being labeled a sexual offender. I do know that there are those different levels. I'm not sure what the technical term is for it, but, or the legal term, but I can see that as far as child molesters, nobody should ever be touching a child in that manner, period. And if you are someone that has a thing for children, go get your ass some help.
Mhm.
You know, go see a doctor, a therapist, lock yourself up in a padded cell and never fucking come out. And I know that's very unsympathetic of me, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's just, you know, that's just not cool. And then women, you know, raping women, especially some that are even elderly, which, you know, pops in the news every once in a while, which, my personal thing, I mean, you know, I thought about the situation for a second there, and it's like, what can you do with a kid that a grown woman can't do for you? I mean, a girlfriend, or even just a fuck buddy. I mean,
Yeah, that's just, it's just sick.
yeah.
You know, I mean, because that screws up that child's whole entire life for the rest of their life. You know, and sometimes, in some instances, in many cases, that person ends up being a child molester themselves. So why start this vicious cycle? You know, and it's terrible. And if you are someone that has been molested as a child, go get your ass some help. You know, it's not saying that you are going to become one, but you know, I've heard some really screwed up stories.
Yeah.
One thing that in one of the classes that I took, it wasn't dealing with sexual offenders or anything of that nature, but as far as behavior goes, if someone has been sexually molested, I don't remember what the actual statistic was of it, but the likelihood of them becoming a child molester is great. And when they do, if they do become a child molester, they tend to target a child of the age that they were when they were molested. And that's terrible. It really is. And that's why I say, if you have been molested, go see a therapist. Go, you know, it's not saying that you will, but it's always good to get it out, you know, and work it out. And I'm a huge believer and advocate. Just, you know, talking things out, I think really helps. And but that's just from my perspective. I don't know what you think.
Well, actually, I saw something that our city here does, is that I saw the commercial where, you know, now they have it where you just tell your story once, and, you know, you kind of just, you know, you're kind of done with it, where, you know, if a child has been molested, they go into the place, you know, they pop a tape recorder and they just start talking, get it all out of the system, and then, you know, then they're done with it. It's one big thing is, like, with my cousin being raped, like, last year, we sat there and we was like, you need to tell somebody, let's get this done and over, let's get it out, so that way you're not, you know, dreaming of debating on it, you know, or sitting up there fearing that this person's going to come back around now that they know who he is. You know, sadly they have to wait till he turns up again, but, you know, at least they know when it comes up, he's locked up, and then you know, it's done and over with. But
yeah, I've actually have a friend that her daughter was sexually molested by her grandfather, or this woman's father. And the great thing that I really give her props for was, you know, after, you know, she took her child to child services and had her interviewed, and everything was videotaped and recorded, but she also took her child to therapy so that way her child would be able to work through these issues, and also things, because of that happening, her child started behaving in an inappropriate fashion or a manner, so that, you know, she wouldn't grow up to be, you know, a sexual predator when later. And I think it's really important. Any time any person has been a victim of sexual abuse, whether it's rape, child molestation, or molestation, I think it's really important to take some action on your own, even if you were the victim, to work through those issues. So one, that they're not haunting you consistently, and two, that you can go about being a productive individual in society and doing some good. And even if you are a victim, something, speaking out about it and bringing about awareness and things that other people can do to prevent this, or to raise awareness, and whether may not be able to stop it, but can definitely reduce.
So slow it down, stop, at least to a halt.
Yeah.
Getting it there. Okay, and